We're live. It's very nearly, as Pete originally said when he invented this feature, the weekend, weekend 22. Buenos dias, Benny Hill salute from Pete there. Listen, this is an oddity. Usually what we don't do is dwell too much on European football when we're previewing the domestic weekend. But what happened last night, for those of you who couldn't join me live from Camp Nou, what happened to Villarreal, Atletico, Barcelona and Madrid. Apart from finals, Pete, we won't go into depth, but apart from a final victory or a single game of historic proportions like the 2011 semi-final at Bernabeu, I don't remember a more tumultuous single day where Villarreal get pumped, Atletico lose at home to Bodo, Atletico leading and losing the last seconds and go out. Barcelona have a tough time and Lamine takes the game by the scruff of the neck, and Real Madrid go out in the most extraordinary circumstances. Now, I know you were focused on commentary, but am I making a point that as a single unified kickoff night, I don't think I remember a more tumultuous Spanish night in Europe?
Well, you were at the Camp Nou. I was in a booth co-commentating for Spanish television, Arsenal against Kairat. So I come out at the end of the game and anything happened? And I've spent most of the morning on catch-up. That moment when Sporting score against Athletic Club and it puts Athletic Club out and suddenly it knocks Real Madrid out the top 8. And then the absolute madness of the Benfica game when Mourinho and his bench of geniuses think they're through, they don't need another goal. And then someone points out, no, we do need another goal. And you see Mourinho waving, what's the name of the goalkeeper? I've got it written down here.
Trubin.
Waving Trubin forward. And what a magnificent header from Trubin, by the way. So like it or don't like it, the new format, it threw up one of the most extraordinary 2 hours of football. And I just wish I'd seen it all live and not been enjoying Arsenal against Kairat. But it was not a great night for Spanish football, Madrid and Graham. And once again, in the Atletico game, one of their goals that they concede, Barrios stops because he thinks he's been fouled. In the Real Madrid game, one of the goals that Madrid concede, Vinicius thinks he's been fouled on the edge of the area and he stops. And I've said this time and time again, it's the La Liga refereeing. They go into their Champions League games, the Europa League games with that mindset and they get penalised.
Everybody's talking about referees doing favours in Spanish football domestically, but they're doing their players no favours in terms of making them grown up to face what is now becoming unified from UEFA, a Northern Europe standard. The way things are refereed in Germany and Scandinavia and France, particularly in the Premier League. But I mean, you've done brilliantly nicking a couple of jewels from the games, but I would contend that Villarreal getting thrashed again with a team, a sort of B team out, the two Canadians flopping again, Athletic having wrestled their way to survival and then tossing it away, which I think, in all honesty, is exactly what they needed to go out. It wasn't what they tried to do, but Athletic need the breathing space of no more midweek football, no more hammerings from foreign teams. Atletico, I think there's a serious problem. All of these things we're going to be coming back to, but it is nearly the weekend. I'm Pete. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelvin, Steve, good morning. Gerwin again. The loyalty is showing, people. Thank you, socials. This is me going to rant as usual. I'm a bit pissed off because what's happening in Spanish football is that La Real, Oviedo and Levante are pissing on my chips. Every time you had to sit in a studio with me over the last 7 or 8 years, talking about another sacking mid-season, often feeling like a knee-jerk sacking, I would often say what we're seeing is the coach carrying the can, the blame being siphoned towards him, and out he goes. And I really felt 75% of the time it was knee-jerk and wasn't going to have an effect. The move to Rino Matarazzo, the move to Almada at Oviedo, the move to Castro at Levante, it's having extraordinary effects. And the focus of this, because we've got this week Athletic hosting La Real in the Basque Derby, Oviedo hosting revitalised Girona, about whom a song is coming, and Levante with wounded Atletico coming to town. What are the things that have gone right? If you don't necessarily have to go through them clinically, everyone. To your analytical eye, when you watch these teams playing, when you look at who went out and how many times some of the teams have changed, overall, why have these three coaches come in and had such a revitalizing effect on these three teams?
When you talk about the madness of panic sackings, it's often someone pressing a button from thousands of miles away who's not watching the games. Is often an overseas owner, and he just looks down the list of results and think, "Oh, we haven't won for 4 games. Well, we changed the manager," without taking into consideration who those 4 games are against, what the injuries are. And I think that what separates Oviedo and Real Sociedad and Levante from that is that they've been very aware in making the changes that they were bringing in someone who was right for the job. In the case of Oviedo, you've got someone who is part of the group and therefore knows that at some point in the future he may end up being Oviedo coach. So he doesn't come in cold. He comes in knowing full well what the squad is like. He's watching all the games week in, week out. He's not been parachuted in from ignorance. And I think that's shown. He looks like a coach who knows what he's got to work with and doesn't need a couple of months to work it out. In the case of Real Sociedad, you have to give credit to Bretos. I mean, he doesn't always get a great deal of credit. This guy who I think he was a podcaster, wasn't he? And then he became David Moyes' translator. And he's had to make a very big call. And you remember Ancelotti's comments about pessimistic defenders and optimistic defenders, and how he loves Nacho how he loved Nacho because he's a pessimistic defender. There are pessimistic coaches and there are optimistic coaches. I think a good example of pessimistic coach would be maybe Arasati. Cholo is perhaps the king of the pessimistic coaches. Matarazzo is the optimistic coach, and you saw it in the way they came back against Osasuna, the way he took part in the celebrations. I commentated the win over Barca. I thought they were exceptional, right down to subs. I mean, someone like Ian Munoz, who does a tidy job, he's a beige sort of player. You don't really notice him. He came on absolutely pumping and played a massive part in them getting the result. He's revitalised Matarazzo, individual players. Geddes has been superb. He's made a big call in midfield because he's given Torrientes his head and he's responded fantastically well. But it's more than anything tactical, although I do think Sergio Gomez is now being released and being able to participate far more in the final third from fullback, where fullbacks for Real Sociedad and under Sergio Gonzalez were not contributing at all. But I do think it's an emotional thing. It's changing the whole mindset of the players at the club and what the club feel they can achieve. They went into that Barcelona game feeling and believing that they could beat them, and they did.
I think we're coming to an era that I'll pick up your baton if you don't mind. And I watched recently a really interesting interview between Jorge Valdano and Mikel Arteta. And one point in it was Mikel Arteta saying, "Okay, we've now reached saturation systems and planning and analysis and coach v coach. We're entering an era where players with magic, the players that make a difference, the players that beat a man, somebody that can split the atom on the pitch, that's going to be the special part of the next few years." I think he's right. It's optimistic. But I think allied to that concept, I think you've touched on something that for me is vital. Whether you're Oviedo when you're in trouble or whether you're Real Madrid and you're burdened down with equal tiredness to your fantastic talents across the squad, coaches, whatever else they do, they have to make players enjoy themselves again. So many players are overworked, are pressurized, maybe sated because of the money, sated because of the trophies, sated because of the, up to here because of the pressure of we're going to be relegated. It's essential that the players enjoy their working day and enjoy playing football. And when the ball is there, they have to touch it. They want to be on it rather than fear and folks, beige. Beige has never been used in better context than Pete just did there.
Two more quick things, Graham. Matarazzo only brought in 2 staff with him, and I think that's played a part as well. So he's not bringing in an entire team and saying, "You lot, none of you know what you're doing." He's coming in with a bit of humility as well, just bringing 2 staff with him. And the thing about Oviedo, I think we both agree that it's maybe going to be too late. They've turned the corner, and there are 5 more corners, and they're probably not going to stay up. I really hope they keep the team together. I really hope the people that run the club look at that and say, okay, next season, Ilias, Vinyas, Hassan as the front three, Carmo and Costas as the central defensive partnership, keep Colin Batu in midfield. Rangers look really good as well. And they will dominate the second tier, and they'll come straight back up. They'll have a magnificent season. I really hope they keep that team together if they do go down.
They do well to keep Iskandel, who's been scandalously good. A couple of comments, Calvin. At least Athletic gave it a go. Villarreal were an embarrassment. And Martin links us out of this last one because Martin says, morning, Graham. What's the current state of play at Athletic Club? Now, it's the Basque Derby. Martin's asking about whether Valverde is up to his neck. Just 1 second. Jordi, las chicas están aquí. Tim y Víctor. Buen día, Capo. Gracias. Merci. Lo siento. So I think, and you think too, Valverde is reaching that moment where probably for him a change has to come, probably at the end of the season. It's my opinion. Pick up Martin's point. Does a victory now in the Basque Derby for Athletic, the friendly derby as we still continue to call it, is now more essential than ever? Can they pull it off?
I agree that they gave it everything last night. I thought Gurusetta's goal was brilliant. Sunset looks back at it. And Navarro's been brilliant in recent weeks. So I think and that's a really tasty. There have been a couple of let's keep saying beige. There have been a couple of beige Basque derbies recently. I don't think this weekend's will be, because I think Real Sociedad really had it under the new manager, and I think Athletic, they have had a mini revival. Not enough to keep them in the Champions League. So I think tasty one at the weekend.
Talking about tasty, they are, or this is tasty, very, very tasty. We're very tasty. So sponsored by Kellogg's Bran Flakes. This is Revista de la Liga. To stay alive, to keep eating biscuits and me in beige outfits, it really matters that you join up. This is the advert that will be cut out of the Thursday, nearly the weekend content, which is made for socios. Socios who abound at the moment, and I love abounding socios. They paid up either £3.99 a month or 30 quid to take all of us through, to carry us through in some sort of papal chair and pints of creme de menthe all the way through to after the World Cup final. And that's a Billy Connolly joke, I'm sorry. So join us. Please subscribe. Please become a socio. It costs you £3.99 a month. That's the cost of 62 Nescafes or one good coffee. Join us, please, to support Revista de la Liga. Martin says, I adore the description of beige. Thank you for responding. Pedro is appreciated. He is. He's a super talent, Martin. If beige is a little bit of a word to describe people, I think Pete is ultramarine. Now, particularly when you see him swimming, sometimes with dolphins, sometimes with sharks.